asked me, he said, Jonas, we're inviting all the Americans. First, he said, we're inviting all the Americans to the embassy. And he said to me, he said, you know what's happening tomorrow? I was like, no, not really. He said, you don't know what's happening tomorrow? I said, I don't know, maybe there's going to be a protest because the locals were not happy with the outcome of the election of President Bashir because he'd been reelected. So he said, yeah, so for that reason, we're inviting all the Americans to come in and we're going to brief them on where to be or not to be in the capital. I did go ahead to the embassy. They had moved from the outside the city. So I went there. I called them upon arrival. I was greeted by the same guy that I initially met in December that convinced me to do business in Sudan. And he came out and he handed me a cotton swab. He said, "Can you rub your fingers here real quick?" And I said, "Sure." I didn't think much of it because I'm going through security because he's standing by the security clearance section. So I thought maybe they just wanted to clean my fingers before they put it in the machines or whatever. I said, "Sure." And then after I did that, he went ahead and took it and put it in a plastic bag. And I started thinking, I was like, "What is he doing?" I didn't think much of it, but then I was like, "Are they looking for some kind of forensic evidence?" Or I didn't care because I have nothing to worry about. They opened the door. I remember I was reading the sign on the door. It says meeting room. I said, okay, everything's cool. So I walk in. It's like a small office. There's no Americans. There's nobody but like 3 chairs and a little table there. So I said, okay, no problem. I sat down and they said behind the door. So and then as soon as they sat down, they reached in their back pocket. In their pocket, they pulled out a bag. And they told me that they were the FBI from Portland, Oregon, and they wanted to speak to me. So the minute they said that to me, I felt betrayed because, like, why would you tell me to come in? You're trying to protect me from so-called problem that's taking place, and then you're gonna try to tell me you wanted to speak to me. So I told him, I don't want to speak to you guys without legal representation. I don't want to speak to you without a lawyer. And immediately they said to me, that's the thing, you cannot have legal representation because your lawyer is Black American and you're on the no-fly list. So when he said that to me, and I was like thinking, like, wait, I'm on the no-fly list? I was like, why did you guys let me leave if I was on the no-fly list? And then later on to put me on a no-fly list after I leave the country. They told me there was a case pending in Portland, Oregon, where I was living, and they needed my help. And I was kind of surprised. I said, what case is there? And they said, well, we can't tell you. You have to accept. You have to be willing to help us, and then we can tell you. We don't work like that. They would give me money that I would live a good life. They asked me, don't you love your family? Don't you want to live a good life? You will make good money. Work with us. And I made it clear to them. I told them I don't plan to be an FBI informant or to be an undercover, whatever plan they're trying to do. But I told them if there's any question, if there's anything that I know, I would tell you guys. But as far as like me going into anybody and try to be to secretly bring any kind of information, that I would not do. They basically the meeting ended by they wanted to meet the next day. So I said okay to them because I just want to get out that room. But I made it very clear to them that I have no intention to ever work with them or to work for them. So they wanted to meet the next day. I said sure, I didn't mind. But as soon as I got out, I left. I went home. And they told me not to contact my family members or don't tell anybody about the meeting that I had with them. So and it's probably so no one could discourage me, to with the offer that they were giving. And so what I did is the next day I called him, like he told me to call him at 9 o'clock, and he said, okay, whenever you want to get back home, come to the embassy and ask for help. They'll help you try to get back home. And so like I felt that like it was already a threat that the only way for me to get back home was to be an informant or whatever they want me to do. I said okay, thank you, and I hung up the phone. I felt like I was being followed by local Sudanese secret services. Everywhere I go, I would see the same people. They would be asking about me, and at the local restaurant I would attend, and that person, the restaurant person would tell me that individual right over there was asking about you yesterday, and he said this and that. So, because it was a normal knock, so I tried to ignore it and knock a few times, and I can hear people screaming, "What are you doing in there? Open the door!" They asked me for my ID. I refused to give in to their demands until I know who they were. I told them I'm an American. I need to speak to my ambassador because they came to detain me. I realized they were searching the house up and down, and they got very upset. They told me, you are in the UAE. You're not in America. Where's your ID? And so I gave them my ID. To be honest with you, I thought I was getting kidnapped because they were wearing regular, traditional UAE clothes. And finally, I gave them my passport and my local ID. And from there, they should have known that I'm legally living in there. And he said to me, this guy, he said, look, he said, your government doesn't care about you. You are in our hands now. You do what we tell you to do, you get out here as soon as possible. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting here for years and years to come, and your government will never, ever find you. And he told me to lie down on the floor, and he started beating me on my sole feet. And that was the most painful part because there's hardly any muscle on my sole feet to bear the beating with some water hose and sticks and the kicking and the punching. And so I said, okay, what do you guys want? And he told me, give me the password to all your email accounts. I gave them my Yahoo and my Hotmail. I didn't really care what was in there. And then he asked me to give him a detailed story of my lifeline from the time that I was born, where I live, and up to where I did and where I went to school and all this stuff up to now. And I told him, look, this has nothing to do with what you guys want. So why you guys are asking me this kind of question? Tell me about what I did in this country. If I violated your rules, then you have the right to ask. But you have no business about where I'm from, what I do, and about my education history. And they would beat me again. And I said, okay. So I sat there and told them from the time that I was born, as much as I can remember, and until then. And then eventually, once that was finished, they started asking me the same questions that the FBI were asking. And that's when I told them, you guys work for the FBI's, right? And they got very angry and they started beating me again. Same question the FBI asked. He says, what does the chef talk about there? Did the chef ever try to convince you to say things or to do things that's extreme? Or the same question that David asked. And that's when I told him, are you guys working with FBI or something? You know, and he would get angry. He wanted to know the complete foundation. And the 14th, which is when I was released, they told me that where I want to fly in. They told me, no, you have to leave. I asked him, leave what? He said, this is a political issue or something. I told him, where am I at? And the guy told me, you don't know where you're at? This is a different guy now. I told him, no, I don't know where I'm at. He told me, you are in a Secret Service prison. I said, why am I here? He said, look, I can't answer this question. My job is just to get you a plane ticket and get you back home. He said, and then it was in the evening around 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock or so. So they called me back in, and this time the guy came very aggressively upset, and he said to me, what's up with you and your government? I said, what do you mean? He said, the airline doesn't want to take you. You're on the no-fly list. And that's when I really, accepted the fact that I'm on the no-fly list. I told him, really, I am? I told him I didn't know that I was. They threatened me with this in the past, so I guess this time they put me on the no-fly list. And he told me that they are going to try to do the best that I can to push me into the plane, whether I like it or not, but I have to leave tonight. Before they took me, I asked the guy, I told him, look, I just want to ask you this question. He told me, I'm sorry for what happened here. Just forgive us. I said, oh, no problem. What can I do now? I said, no problem. I said, let me ask you a question though. He said, what? I told him, I got close to him like this. I whispered to him, I told him, did the FBI know that I'm here? He said, yeah. He's like, yeah. He wasn't even shy to answer that. I had to ask him, when did they come? He told me they came the same day when the counselors came to see you. And that's when I was like, okay, so I know they were in that room then. Somebody was in that room. And I'm just trying to, get protected. I've been traumatized. I've been tortured. I don't know who's after me. I don't know what the reason is. What people are trying to do, what they're trying to do to me. I'm just trying to stay safe. No matter where I'm at, I need to be able to be safe. And, obviously, they're trying to do something serious here. And, my safety is the most important thing. It's very disappointing. The government that I trust, the government that I hope that would protect me during the time of danger, let me down when I'm overseas. And then come to find out, possibly they were the one who who are actually orchestrating the whole event, because there was cameras, in front of me. I could see the camera light on this, and it was connected to the computer. So they were trying to make me confess to things that I don't know, and in order to be released, and only my government would probably benefit off of that. And so if they cannot guarantee my safety while I was overseas, and I don't feel safe, with them or anywhere, to be honest with you, for that matter. And so